Good evening, everyone. Hi. Well, thank you so much for being here today. This is super, super exciting. It's our first of the year, and we are promising to be a little more resilient, having a bi-monthly meetup with UX for Change. How many people are new to this meetup? Good. And then I see some familiar faces, which is also very good to see. I think it's worth going quickly through a little bit of the history of UX for Change. Before I get into it, let me introduce myself. I'm Sandra Gonzalez. I'm actually head of user experience and design here at Steed, but I'm also the founder of UX for Change. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this story. I officially launched the concept in a conference, a UX conference in Manchester, Talk UX. And what I did is I pretty much challenged the UX community to say, guys, come on, what are we doing to help nonprofit organization? Back then, I was really, really engaged with helping teachers teach computer science, but kind of take it beyond that and not just be so focused about programming, but also talking about, user experience design, feasibility, scalability, and so on and so forth. I highly recommend, if you're curious, to find me with the keywords Talk UX and my name, Sandra Gonzalez. It was supposed to be a 300-second talk, 5 minutes, and that's where I actually launched the concept. So I started working with teachers, and I saw an amazing opportunity to connect it with our amazing UX community here in London. Then I moved on a little bit. I continue helping teachers, but then what I did is I got really lucky. I actually met a foundation that was helping refugees by developing technology, mainly focused on women in transit, women and girls in transit. So I work with Doctors of the World and Doctors Without Borders on creating an app that will help pregnant women in refugee camps or in transit identify symptoms from the pregnancy that could be actually life-threatening. So you can see some storyboarding that we did and some paper prototyping, and that was an amazing experience. Through that, I also continue connecting the UX community with really good causes. So I work with the pregnancy app, and then I met some other UX designers that work with creating APIs for the drawings that children leave behind as they're going through the transit. There's just so many other amazing projects out there that we were able to give some time to help them do best practices when it comes to like user experience design. So last year, it was a bit bumpy for UX for Change. For those of you that have been following us, I got extremely busy with my new role here, and I was this close to close the concept, and I just like about to push the cancel button in Meetup.com, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. So what I did is I said, all right, I need to think bigger. I need to stop putting so much on myself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to the UX community and say, can you please help me? Because this is such a good idea. But I'm missing a trick here. So what we did, and we did held one meetup last year. We started recruiting a committee. And this is a committee that we put together. And now it's amazing because now the idea is going to continue and it's going to be even better and more powerful. So I want to give a big, big thanks to all my committee members. Can you all raise your hand, please? And I'm asking so that, thank you so much. It would not be possible without you. So if you have any questions, now you know them, you recognize our faces, ask them how it's like, how much time it involves, and if you can give us a hand, that would be brilliant. The other thing I want to encourage you is to also think about connecting with this nonprofit that we bring on this stage to see if you can give them a hand. It's really pretty much, at your own time, and it's a really good way to build your portfolio. So think of things that you may want to offer to the nonprofits that we connect you with. Okay, so super, super important. I just want to thank our sponsors. This year, we have been extremely lucky to connect with the Rainmaker Foundation. They have been working closely with us to really identify what would be a really good charity to start working with. And that's how we're here today, because we have one of their charities. So very special thanks to the Rainmaker Foundation. Bamboo Crowd has been so good with making sure that these little kind of last minute button wasn't pushed. So I want to thank Bamboo Crowd. They are a very, very good recruitment agency. I want to point out Naomi's right there. If you guys are looking for new opportunities, please do talk to her. And a very special thanks for making this happen. I also want to thank Just Eat. I hope the pizza was good. And yeah, I mean, we have the venue, we have the pizza, and we also have about 12 roles open: UI, UX, UR, mid, senior principal, everything. London, Bristol, Bristol, London. So please contact me if you're looking for opportunities. And then we have Anne also available to have a quick chat, and then we'll exchange info. All right, good. So that was quick, simple, easy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass the mic to James. James is here from the Carefree Breaks nonprofit, and he's going to explain to us what he's been up to the last, how long? Year or 16 months. Wow, that's good. So please, James, come and join us. Please give him a big round of applause. Okay. Yes, so turn it up.
How's that? Oh, words. I'll whisper. Okay, hello everybody. So I'm James, and I'm one of the co-founders of Carefree Breaks. The other co-founder is my brother Charlie. He's the other one with grey hair. So we are a very young startup charity, and until only a few months ago, it was just the two of us working out of his apartment. Now there's about 6 of us working out of his apartment. And we've come a long way in the last 16 months. Part of that has been hard work and determination, but we could not have got to where we are today without people like yourselves, people who show up and help us to achieve our mission without asking for anything in return. So big thanks to everyone who showed up today. Huge thanks to Sandra and her team from UX for Change, to Just Eat for sponsoring and hosting this evening. And big thanks to Cosmina and her team at the Rainmaker Foundation. They awarded us a place on their accelerator program 6 months ago. And they have quite literally accelerated us from pretty much a standing start to where we are now 6 months later. And so, yeah, thank you very much indeed. So I will tell you a bit about Carefree Breaks now. I'm going to have the help of some notes because I'm not as professional as Sandra. And also because in the course of the next week, I'm giving about 3 presentations. And if I don't read from notes, I'll give you the wrong one, and that would just be embarrassing. So Carefree Breaks started out 16 months ago with a straightforward mission to improve of unpaid carers. So my brother and I had witnessed firsthand the extraordinary pressure that unpaid carers face, but we also recognized that very many families were in a far worse situation than us. So Carefree Breaks exists to honor and serve those who have no choice and little chance of stepping away from their caring situation. People like Don, who gave up his job to care for his mother, who has Alzheimer's. When we met Don, he hadn't had a break for 9 years. Or Lucy, who has cared for her disabled mother since she was 11 years old, When we met Lucy, she hadn't had a break for 4 years. So Don and Lucy are just two of the 7 million unpaid carers in the UK, who between them provide 80% of all home care, with an estimated value to the UK economy of 132 billion each year. That's the same as the entire NHS budget. So caring is an act of kindness, but it takes its toll. Talk to any carer support organisation anywhere in the world and they will all tell you the same thing, that taking regular breaks is an essential prerequisite for the health and well-being of unpaid carers. Despite this, the large majority of unpaid carers will not take a break this year. In fact, a quarter of them haven't had a day off in the last 5 years. And that's where we come in. So Carefree Breaks is a digital platform providing short breaks for unpaid carers in rental accommodations such as holiday cottages and hotels. The platform functions much like Airbnb, but there are two fundamental differences. Firstly, the accommodation is free, donated by owners and operators during the low season. Secondly, the guests are referred to us by care support organisations who have engaged with them in the community and identified their need for a break. So it's a simple idea with a profound impact, and thanks to technology, we have the potential to take it to scale. So a week today, fingers crossed, we'll be launching our first MVP with hundreds of breaks on offer from Cornwall to Scotland. But right now, I'd like to take you back to the summer of 2016, when this whole thing was little more than a big idea on a small piece of paper. In order to test the concept, we carried out a pilot in Cornwall with breaks for just 10 carers. And as the film I'm about to show you will hopefully illustrate, the impact of a short break was apparent right from the start. And somebody needs to help me play the film.
And that's me. There we go.
In September 2016, Carefree Breaks carried out a pilot programme in partnership with the Cornish Carers Service. A number of carers were invited to take a week-long break in Devon and Cornwall, staying in holiday cottages donated free of charge by their owners. For most of them, this was the first time they had taken a break for many years.
The importance of a carer taking a break is huge. If a carer doesn't look after themselves, their ability to look after somebody else starts to decrease.
There's definitely impact on you as an individual. You can't give all your resources away without replenishing that somehow.
The end result is that they're happier, the relationship between them and the cared for is less strained, and therefore the quality of care that they're providing to that person is much better.
That's my life, that's all I remember. But I think if I wasn't a full-time carer, then I would have more time with my family.
They don't have that luxury just to be able to drop everything and go on holiday. Just say, oh, I'm taking some time off work, that's all I need to do. They have to plan so much.
The last time I had a week's holiday was probably 3-4 years ago. So it's been nice to be able to take our little boy and do our stuff. It's been definitely an eye-opener to think, actually, this is what I need. A week here and then go back and live life normally again.
It's not a physical thing, it's a mental thing. Being a daughter and looking after a father who's used to being in control all the time. And it is just a mental battle day after day after day. I don't feel that I can justify the price of a carer for me to go down to the gym a couple of times a week, and so therefore I'm now stuck not being able to care for myself properly while looking after him.
To be able to relax, physically relax, unwind, do something that is just for them is completely essential for carers to be able to continue with their caring role.
I was looking forward to swimming before I came away for this break. It's something I cannot do when I'm looking after Dad, and it's something that's very, very good for me, and I love it, and I have just spent my time in the pool going pruning. It's been lovely.
She has currently about 12, 13 people live in her house. She sees them all the while. Obviously no one else does. But dealing with that in itself is very difficult. No matter how hard you try to ignore it, what you're looking at is your mother.
Sometimes you can visibly see that carers aren't coping very well and desperately need a break. And for other people, it's not on the surface, it's much deeper than that.
Without too much of a doubt, it has definitely put a strain between myself and Karen.
I just couldn't see this man that I love anymore. He was changing. But this break has just been marvellous. I just keep saying to Phil, God, this is beautiful, this is fantastic. And I'm looking out that window and I'm hearing the birds and everything is just peace. And I think that's what I've got from this, is peace.
It is so important to have time for yourself. The trouble is, I've been doing it for so many years that I don't realise what I've done, because it was just part of our life. As I'm getting older, I'm finding it harder. And I do think, how much longer am I going to be able to, cope with it all?
You don't know when you're going to be a carer. You can't choose that. And I think we need to be a lot more carer aware than we are, and giving back where we can.
This week has been fantastic because I've made myself relax. It's given me time to myself, time to think. This has just been wonderful for me.
It's really important to a carer to have a break. I think realise that until this point. To spend time with Wendy and my wife and do just simple things like go for a walk, simple little things we just don't get time to do at home. It sounds simple, but it's a huge thing for us. Carers will go on and on and on because that's what they do, but it comes to a point where it takes someone from outside sometimes to see what damage it's doing to yourself and to your family.
If carers aren't able to take a break, there's a big risk of carer burnout, that the carer is unaware of what's happening to them and can snowball quite quickly.
When he took me away 2 years ago, I think, she just took me off. So I just couldn't function. Just got to the stage of couldn't even think. You get so tired that you don't even function properly. So she drove, I couldn't drive, and we just drove up and saw my mum and dad, and it took 2 nights. But that was, just enough to get away. So this has been brilliant.
To actually see something that is that meaningful to people in action, I think that is something that is very powerful.
I don't think it's just for carers. I think it's about our whole society and our community all giving something back.
It's a phenomenal opportunity for carers, one that doesn't come along very often.
You have to care for yourself before you can care for anyone else, and I think I'd lost sight of that.
I feel definitely refreshed. I'm ready to get back on with it now.
We feel really blessed that somebody actually is cared about us both, and particularly you, recognising that needs a break.
I've got my husband back, so thank you very much.
Just thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to cry.
This week has been wonderful, fantastic. I've relaxed, I've de-stressed, and I'd love to do it again.
If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world?
So, as you have just seen, a short break can have a really profound impact. However, the core challenges that unpaid carers face don't suddenly disappear. I've got to change the slide. There we go. Large numbers of carers feel cut off from the rest of society. Health problems are rife, and with a carer's allowance of just £63 a week, making ends meet is a huge challenge. So our next task is to find a way of supporting unpaid carers long after the break has finished. So our proposed solution is an online space providing year-round support and engagement for unpaid carers. The platform will offer a range of content to entertain, educate, and enrich its members. Not the kind of dreary offerings so often seen in the charity sector, forgive me, but something stylish and imaginative. A forum and a chat room offering real-time connection to a network of fellow carers. Online training and flexible work-from-home opportunities. Live streaming from theatres and music venues. Bespoke podcasts and playlists, meditation and exercise apps to improve health and well-being, perhaps even healthy food plans from celebrity chefs, online GP services, and of course, short breaks through our flagship offering, Carefree Breaks. In short, our aim is to bring the world to people who feel excluded from it. So the question is, how do we do that? Community platforms are usually fairly static and uninspiring. They lack character and connection a lot of the time. Threads remain inactive for weeks or months at a time. So our challenge that we'd like to put to you is this. How do we breathe new life into the concept of a community platform? How do we imbue it with warmth and personality? How do we create an immediate yet enduring connection that is simple enough for technologically challenged people, users, yet compelling enough to keep them coming back? And remember this, being a social enterprise doesn't mean that you have to look, feel, or behave in a certain way. So please delete any stereotypical associations you may have from your design lexicon and let your imagination fly. So if you come up with something original and unexpected, no one will be more delighted than us. Thank you very much.
Wasn't that amazing? It was so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, perfect. So I have a lot of newcomers, and this is a really good point for me to explain what the whole kind of purpose of UX for Change is. The idea is that we connect nonprofit and amazing ideas like this one with you, with every single one of you, with the UX community. So you can take it for this tonight and make it better. But there's a very important component, and that is that we will teach you something tonight. And the idea is that you immediately put it in action to immediately benefit a nonprofit like Carefree Breaks. So just to go back to how James closed, here is our challenge for today, okay? We really need to think about this. How can we bring that human hand, that human emotion that we're all experiencing at this moment through this platform, okay? And for that, I have invited an expert, person that's been working on personality and how to develop a personality within a brand for a really long time here in Just Eat. Okay, so I would like to invite on stage Mike. Mike, please come and he will be teaching us about personality and how to develop one. So please give him a big round of applause. Thank you. Just give me 1 second.
So brand personality, we're going to kick the things off in a minute, but brand personality, because it is a really quick and relatively painless way of kind of meeting, or at least partway meeting, all of those three objectives. Okay, it's not something that's super duper technological. You don't need to have a degree in SQL or C++. You don't need to be a bonza, architect or database engineer. With a few quick tools and a few quick techniques and some background, which hopefully I'll give you here today, you guys can go out and do all this. So, was this working? That was a very, very rough timeline. We'll skip that. Basically, I'm going to give you all the tools you need in this next half hour. So turn into sponges. That'll be good. I've called them exercises. This is a good example of personality not working. They're not exercises. That makes them sound awful. Like you're going to go upstairs and each be given an exercise book or be told to drop and give me 20. It's actually some fun activities. So bring personality to life and show how it is important, why it's important, how to use it, and most importantly, give the guys at carefreebreaks.com some real insights, some real actionable guidelines, and starts, at the very least, the start of a style guide or something that you guys can take away and learn from, adapt, work with to just immediately kind of start hopefully adding personality to your service and start meeting those three objectives that you had. So, and obviously everybody else here is going to be involved in that as well. So we'll skip that. I am Mike. And I've been working in brand personality and things related to that for longer than I care to remember. I started writing for computer magazines back in the early 2000s, which is all about personality. That was the glory days of publishing, when there were shelf after shelf crammed with computer titles, for instance. And you very much rested on your magazine's branding or magazine's personality. It's all about your swagger. How do you stand out from the competition when there's another dozen computer magazines, probably all offering the same exclusive demos on their cover discs? And I can probably see from some of your faces, you cover disc? What's a cover disc? I'm dating myself here awfully. Anyway, so it was all about personality, the swagger that you had, the attitude that you had. That was how you kept readers and attracted readers to your magazine. And later on, I kind of took those skills and abilities. I went to work at Dyson. They're a fantastic example of how to use personality in your communications, in your websites, and your products. And we'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute. I was lucky enough to work at Nokia back in the glory days when Nokia was a proper thing and people had actually heard of them. It wasn't just a meme on the internet. The Nokia personality was a real challenge, despite what you might think, because back in those days, early 2000s, is pre-iPhone. If you think about the pervasiveness of the Nokia brand, it was everywhere, not just here in the UK or Western Europe, but Eastern Europe, Asia, North America, South America, everywhere across the globe. So how do you build a brand personality that works and is compelling for such a wide range of people, not only nationally and internationally, but demographically too? Everyone from 15-year-olds saving up to get their first pay-as-you-go from Orange, or whoever was operating these days, to your 45-year-old businessman who's been given his first mobile device so he can get email when he's out on the road. How do you convey and work with brand personality with an audience that broad? It's an incredible challenge and really good. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later if you're interested. I worked at Vodafone. This was a fun challenge because you're not only espousing the Vodafone brand personality. Vodafone wants you to go and shop with them because they want your money. How do they draw you in? Well, it's all about brand personality. Do you buy into what Vodafone is selling? But not only that, we have to sell, as you're Vodafone, you have to sell third-party devices on your site. So you need to get across Sony's brand personality at the same time as Vodafone's. So two brand personalities going on there at once. How do you balance those two together? Nowadays, I work with Sandra and a fantastically talented team here at Just Eat. And we have fun cramming big personality into a tiny little space on your mobile phone. Again, challenge. How do you insert personality into a platform when all you ever deal with is microcopy, for instance, from a copywriter's point of view anyway? Look at this. There's no string here that's more than 3 words long. How do you inject personality into that? So we're going to give you some tips and some starters, some hints, and we're going to angle all this towards helping Carefree Breaks, but also hopefully give you guys some insights as well you can take away into your everyday lives too. So probably helps if we begin by kind of making sure that we all understand what we mean by brand personality. And at its most basic, it's this, right? It's how a brand makes you feel about their products or services when you encounter them. And now that could be encountering them through advertising, it could be through their social media presence, it could be the website that you've come across, it could be a recommendation from a friend, it could be an app you've seen in an app store, all kinds of different touch points. But brand personality impacts on all of those things. It's very, very important. One example that you see brand personality appearing in more often than anything else, and at its most overt than anything else, is advertising. Obviously, we all see it. We're all bombarded by adverts every hour, every day. One of the things that brands often have to think about when they think about personality, and thankfully Carefree Breaks when it came to this particular challenge. Can I get a quick show of hands? Anybody owning an Audi? Oh, okay. Put your fingers in your ears. You probably don't know, but anyway, there's a kind of a brand personality problem that Audi have, right? Audi driver. Ugh. Okay. Audi, rightly or wrongly, has a reputation and is rubbing off in their personality that people who drive their cars are inconsiderate, egotistical, pig-headed, probably men most of the time. You know, if you get cut up or you've got someone tailgating you, Audi driver. Apart from our two examples here, obviously, because they're sterling. But, you know, that's an interesting case of a brand. It's got its personality. It's got its objective. It's got its way that it wants you to perceive it as a brand. But then there's a lot of negative stuff to overcome. So Audi obviously spends vast amounts on advertising. This is one of their most recent. Now, even though there are very, very few words on here, you can immediately get a sense of their brand's personality. Does anyone want to have a guess at many personality traits they see emerging from this piece of advertising? Yeah. Unthought of depth, that's good. Futurism is another thing. Very forward-looking, aren't they, Audi? Vorsprung durch Technik, you know, they've got a whole German engineering thing to fall back on, but they're very futuristic. They're always using and employing technology for improving things, and they always have this vast belief that things are going to get better, technologically advanced to the benefit of us. Exactly. Pride and respect for the heritage. This one in particular is a super fancy sports car. They're tying back to these old days. I mean, I don't know when that was around, probably my great-grandfather's age. But, you know, the old races here, I remember this one, and date myself again, from the old rally days, you know, the good old turbocharged four-wheel drive death traps. But anyway, you're going to get across the brand personality. It's completely static. It's not moving. It's not talking. It's not telling you anything, but you get so much personality coming out from this advert. And brand personality through advertising isn't a new idea. It's been going on for ages. Audi's parent company, Volkswagen, they were past masters at this. I keep pressing the wrong button. There we go. They were past masters at this. This is an advert from the early 1960s. Okay, so there's almost 60 years between this one and the Audi one I just showed you now. But they use the same concepts and same ideas. This is an old print advert, obviously advertising the Beetle. Use the same basic principles. It's all about building awareness of what your brand is, what you stand for, the way you talk, the way you picture things. You can see it's very, very plain. There's very little design work on here, super plain fonts, really plain tone of voice. And they're saying, look, no nonsense. This is a cheap car, but it's going to be reliable, right? That's what you want. No frills, no whistles, nothing. No unpleasant surprises when you get behind it. You know, we are just upfront, completely plain, simple, authentic. You know, and that's the kind of attitude they're getting across there. So you can see brand personality, again, not a new thing. So before we go any further into brand personalities, it can be really helpful to understand a little bit about human personalities. You know, we've all got one. Now, I don't know you guys, you don't know me, but the moment I stepped up here, you would automatically start making perceptions or start making judgments about my personality based on me, okay, my traits. You'll start inferring traits from various things about me. The way I look, okay, today I'm quite dressed down, quite casual, but, you know, if I'm going out, I like to hit the old black tie and tux. This was from an event back in December. But this is one of the key things, you know, you might start basing how you perceive somebody's personality on. Okay, your mum was right, you know, first looks matter. What was the word? Someone going to help me that one. That's the right one. I'm so wired. First impressions count, right? Okay. So look, I mean, you're seeing immediately personality. Am I, coming in dressed nicely like that? You're going to have a very different perception of my personality if I was stood up here wearing that than I am right now. And again, if I was up here in a pair of, ratty old shell suit bottoms and some scuffed trainers, okay, even though I'm the same person inside it, you're immediately perceiving my personality differently. And it's not just clothes. Okay, what does my hair look like? Am I wearing any jewelry? Do I have any tattoos? Do I have a little teardrop coming out the corner of my eye that I got down in cell block H? There is the way we move. Am I striding purposefully across the stage? Or am I kind of shuffling about? Okay, reading stuff into your personality. So you can see all these different ways that you start building up an impression of somebody's personality. And all of these are non-verbal, right? This is all before I've opened my big fat mouth. When I do that, goodness me, all bets are off, right? Am I talking in a dull, kind of audible monotone because, or am I jabbering really, really super fast because I'm wired and I've had too many cups of espresso upstairs on the 8th floor and I go, oh, nerves, okay? Again, all feeding into your personality. So if you start thinking, okay, personality is not just brands, personality and people's personality, not two different things. We're building on the same thing, building on the same traits, building on the same principles. And when we start talking about brand personality, you've got to remember there's always somebody, there's always a person behind that personality. And there's always a person that personality is being conveyed to. Okay, it's a conversation. I can represent a brand, you guys can represent a customer or a user of Carefree Breaks, for instance. It's all about people. It's all the same thing. So brand personality, you and I, human personality, very much the same thing. So if you're ever going to get stuck and think brand personality, oh, it sounds like a keyword, whoosh, over the top of my head, turn off. Just think it's all personality at the end of the day. So we talked a bit about how people perceive your personality and my personality. It's a bit different when you're trying to convey your personality for a business, particularly if you are running a website. Now, we touched on a few examples there of some of the ways that you might determine somebody else's personality. I'm sure you're making judgments about my personality right this minute. But if you visit a website or you use an app, there are far fewer opportunities for your brand to convey its personality and vice versa for you to perceive that brand's personality in return. In fact, there's only two ways, really. There is the tone of voice that we use and the visual identity that's employed. Okay, so tone of voice in regards to what we're saying, what the message is, and how we're saying it. From a visual identity point of view, what colors we're using, what typeface we're using, what icons we're using, what kind of photos, what kind of imagery we're using. So those are the kind of the two main ways that you can convey a brand's personality. Obviously, there are a few other smaller, more minor ones after these. You can get into sound identity, for instance. We can get into interaction design, the way that maybe somebody's icon or logo moves or spins during a loading stage, for instance. All those sort of things, they will play a part. But these are the two primary ones here. And certainly for the purposes of this evening, these are kind of the ones that are most important, and particularly tone of voice. I'm being a writer, so I'm going to kind of lean more in the words direction than the crayons and the colors. I apologize if any UI designers out there that I'm insulting. I'm very sorry. But those are the kind of two main things, and we're going to focus on tone of voice today, and purely because it enables us to really kind of explore personality traits. Okay, and it's a lot easier to talk about personality traits when you talk about words, because you don't have to get into the problem of inferring what color the personality trait frustration might be, for instance. Okay, that's like a really nebulous subject, and people go nuts in these things. People do PhDs and they write books, and you have someone standing up here for another 3 or 4 hours just to talk about 2 or 3 traits. Right, I'm going to cover a whole load in a very short space of time. So we're going to kind of talk about tone of voice, but these things, there's a lot of principles underlying it that can be conveyed across a lot of other things too. Now, why is personality important? We touched on it briefly. James mentioned it there. It's about being appealing. It's about being credible. It's about being a business or brand or an organization that people are going to want to engage with. Now, if you're a business, obviously, you've got a whole different set of priorities. You want to bring money in, you want sales, you want revenue, you want people to walk away with your products and start espousing them to their friends and their family. It's the best thing since sliced bread. But we're being a bit more altruistic today. We're working with carers. We're providing these people who need a break with a much needed holiday. So although you might think, well, gosh, it's a charity. These people, they need a break. We're going to give them a break. that will do, won't it? No, not really. James has already mentioned we need to kind of move away from this kind of stigma that some people have about charities and about social. What's social? Was it community? Social enterprises. Sorry, yes, thank you. So all these things of where kind of personality comes into it. It's about being credible, and obviously, these more fundamental tasks. Now, at a most basic level, it comes down to who you want to deal with. What kind of brand do you want to engage with? If you are a carer or a shopper or somebody, whoever, and you're going to engage with an organization, what experience would you prefer? Would you rather, for instance, get on the phone to someone or engage in a chat conversation with someone who had a personality like that? Or would you rather engage with somebody who had a personality like that? Okay, so night and day difference. I'm sure, unless there's a few kind of weirdos amongst us, we're all thinking, right, oh, Mel and Sue, and maybe we'll have cake too. Think about, people coming to Carefree Breaks. They're not being asked to pay for stuff. They're not making a commercial transaction, but we still need to give them the respect that's due and treat them like they are valid paying customers. Okay, just because they aren't going to be handing over cash that's going to go towards the bottom line doesn't mean we have to treat them like that or not worry about how they get treated at all. We want people to feel valued. We want people to feel like they are worthwhile. We want them to come back. And also, if we're treating people with respect, it's more like you're going to get treated with respect. So bearing that in mind, and I do know I'm moving very, very quickly. We're going to do a few exercises that we're going to start building on these principles, and I'll be around obviously all evening, and there's probably other people here who know about this sort of thing, but we can cover some of these in more depth if you'd like to later. Who is your audience? Okay, so we know that we want to be nice. We want to not turn people away. We want people to come and engage with us and have respect for us, respect for what we're offering. So we want to start thinking about our audience. So who are the people who are going to be visiting Carefree Breaks? And I'm not talking about simple demographics. Okay, we're not talking about ages or sexes or what their income is or whether they are Mondeo man or white van man or whoever it might be. We're talking about mindsets, because the way that you are approaching or engaging with something, the state of mind that you are in is going to impact on the way that you perceive the way other people are talking to you. If I come in here and I'm angry and I'm looking to turn every little comment or slight or glance, I saw you in the corner, what's he got against me? It's fueling my rage. Okay, you see how the way that I react is generating a reaction in you guys, and that's feeding kind of back into me. So you can see people are coming to Carefree Breaks, okay, I'm not going to start talking in stereotypical things, but odds are they're going to be tired. Okay, we saw those guys in the videos just now. Stressed, depressed, they're underappreciated, they might feel isolated, they feel lonely, they might even feel guilty for kind of thinking, crikey, do I can I have a holiday? I'm looking after these people, should I have it? But overall, and above all else, you've got to remember they're human. Okay, they're no different than you or I. They're engaging with Carefree Breaks, for instance, or anybody else because they want a service and there's something we can offer that they are after. Okay, something they want. So we value them as humans, as users, the same as we would do if I was selling them a pizza or an Audi or a computer game or a vintage computer magazine on eBay that I want to spend. I want to for 50 quid. Okay, so start kind of thinking about what the personality, what the mindset, of the people visiting the site are going to be. Now, how do you go about doing that? How do you go about developing a personality? It's all good and well me standing up here saying brand personality is super important. You should have one. Off you go. Right? How do you go about doing that? How do you develop a personality? We don't know how we develop a personality because we don't like thinking. Every waking moment of our lives since we are fired out of our mother's womb, we are developing a personality. I have more years than I would admit to you guys developing a personality. Whether that means my personality is more advanced or worthwhile than somebody who's younger than me, I don't know. It's an argument for another day. We'll talk about that over a beer. But how do you get developing a personality? Well, there is a really quick and easy trick of going about doing this. And it is thinking about personality traits. Okay, so your personality, you can't sum it up in one word, but it is a series of traits. I'm sure you've heard about personality traits before in the past. And these traits are characteristics. You can think of them like characteristics, okay? And they should reflect your emotions or your brand's emotions or your organization's emotions, your values, obviously, and your beliefs. So relatively simple. So you kind of think, okay, well, personality traits. Let's start building personality traits. And it's the traits that are the building block of your brand personality. These are the things that will inform all the conversations you have with your users. It will inform the way that you write copy. It will inform the way that you come up with a logo, where you position things on a page, what kind of imagery you use. Now, coming up with traits can be a bit tricky. It's a bit abstract, it's a bit nebulous. So we can start thinking, well, what's the kind of useful tool we can do to do that? Well, we start building these things called personas. I'm sure you've all worked with any guys any people here who are in UX or UI. You've come across personas before. It's probably a very familiar mechanism for building empathy or making sure that you're developing a product that's going to meet your customers' needs. From a writing point of view and a personality point of view, personas are key as well. They really help you get into the head of who you want your business to be, but also, from UX and UI point of view, your customers and your users are. Now, from a personality point of view, you can make one up, or far more fun and far more engaging is you can pick someone out in the world whose persona you quite like and admire and use theirs instead. Now, I said earlier on I was working at Dyson. There is Sir James right there. Those guys have it really easy. Okay, Dyson is a company started by him back in the I think 80s. I'm going to highlight the deficiency of my memory, but it's him. Okay, Dyson is him. He is the company. The company is him. It started by him back in the 80s. He's the guy who invented the cyclone technology that Dyson vacuum cleaners still use today. He grew the company from nothing, literally him or one guy and some shareholders who invested, and he's built this multinational, multi-billion-pound company. But the entire company is him, and his personality is the company. All interactions that they have with customers, it's him, right? Him. When you read the copy on the side of a box down in Dixon's, it's him. You visit their website, maybe look at one of their vastly overpriced hairdryers, it's him. Okay, it's all him. And when I was there, we were developing and crystallizing his tone of voice, because I joined when they were just growing exponentially, going through a real boom time. And there was a need to be able to explain to people who were joining Dyson just what being him meant. Right? We needed some guidelines to give out to people so we could all be on the same page, we could all be pulling in the same direction, because he's not going to write all the marketing copy. He's not going to be up at 10:30 at night worrying about the micro copy on the footer of a hand dryer website, for instance. So we came up with these 3 traits based on James's personality. So he was, in essence, not only the founder and the boss and the man we all, stand and salute as he walks past, but, he is the voice and the personality that Dyson conveys to its customers, and in turn, how it wants its customers to see them. He's authentic. Okay, that means very plain spoken. He's genuine. He's not going to try and pull a fast one. He's going to talk in very straightforward language. He's going to be very down to earth. He is obviously an engineer, and they take great pride in that. It's what Dyson is built on. It's engineering excellence and science and technology, and just boffins beavering away in workshops, just trying to squeeze another ounce of suction from a couple of cyclones in their vacuum cleaners. Most importantly, it's like yeast in a bread recipe. Add a bit of rise to a bit of air, a bit of fluff to it. We came up with this third thing called twinkle in her eyes, and that sounds a bit kind of like a nursery rhyme more than a personality trait. But you can see this is one of the products that I worked on when I was at Dyson. It's one of their brand new shiny vacuum cleaners. And so obviously we're trying to explain to people, what the difference between this vacuum cleaner and the 2021, that came before it. And so you need to sit down and think about, well, okay, this is the vacuum that we're going to sell. We were lucky that we were working with products at that time that did actually offer genuine benefits. With the old things, we weren't trying to sell people a lemon. This was, a genuine advance in technology. But it's still, you need to sit down and think about these things. So authentic, what does authentic mean when we're talking about the brand personality? And what can we see that's authentic in here? Well, obviously, we're not mucking about with lifestyle photography. This is just, a very plain product shot, very plain background. And as you can see, if you start reading any of the copy, it's very, very plainly spoken. There's no hyperbole in here. There's no, unfounded claims. There's nobody getting excited. It's not peppered with exclamation marks or flashes or rosettes or anywhere. So it's kind of what authentic means in terms of Dyson's personality. So you can see it's starting to come through. Everything that they write, everything they do, it's authentic. Now, the engineer thing, obviously, that's going to be very evident. We've got this cyclone diagram here. It's an exploded thing. It's like those, if you guys ever did Airfix kits as kids, you start seeing instructions and things, or you look at some of the Dorling Kindersley books, which are awesome. They have all these big explosions with annotations going here, there, and everywhere. And it's exciting. And you might understand how the hell it works, but it looks cool, doesn't it? It's the engineering sort of thing. You get excited about it. You can start to see how it works. And then we go into a bit more information here. It's combined technology separates particles as small as 0.5 microns from the airflow. I don't know what a micron is, but I want one. Okay, so that's the engineering thing. You're building up that personality, and it's showing that these guys, Dyson, they're dedicated to building a better vacuum cleaner, as mundane as that might sound. Your life can be improved with a brand new vacuum cleaner. Okay, and then the third thing, because if you didn't have the twinkle, if you didn't have the bit of humor, something to just make it a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun, this would get really bored, really old, really quickly. Just wouldn't work. So you throw this little thing onto the end here. These microscopic particles are so small, you fit 200 on this full stop. Obviously not that full stop, it's blown up a bit. But if you saw that on a piece of paper stuck to a shelf in Dixon's or Curry's, or is in a newspaper, you'd stop and you think, crikey, 200 things on there, and that'll suck them all up. Awesome. And that's before you get into the paranoia of what's floating around your cockpits in your apartment at home. Goodness. On an unrelated note, we were launching vacuum cleaners in, I think it was China time, or we were just about getting ready to any classes in Beijing. And we all know the air problems in Beijing, as we've seen the photos, and you're only allowed to drive your car in the city every other day, or whatever it was. We were doing the testing on these, and the air that was coming out of the vents, because when you vacuum cleaner, you've got the suction, you've got the motor, suck in through the hose, because it was a little canister when you pull along, suck. All the dust comes out here, and then it fires out the end and gets fired back into your room. We were just doing some tests. We weren't even sucking anything up, but just leaving this thing running in somebody's lounge or bedroom, whatever it was, not actually using it, just turning it on, leaving it somewhere running. It was cleaning the air in their apartment. So that was how filthy Beijing was. And you've got to think about the particulate matter, how small they are. It was cleaning and sucking all these carbon and horrible sooty particles out of the air just by leaving it turned on and running. So anyway, that's the engineer, and that's about brand personality. So we started to introduce those three traits. Okay, so authentic. They were the engineer, they had the twinkle in their eyes. And that's not just the copy they're writing, it's how everything. You saw the visual approach to their products, for instance, the colors they used and the way they were demonstrating, or rather the way they were picturing their devices. So that's personality, the brand personality coming out. Those three traits coming out in that piece of communications. Spreading that out a little bit further. Obviously, that was a piece of product collateral. That was essentially a marketing piece. But how do you go and use brand personality elsewhere? Well, from a very fundamental point of view, you start writing and thinking as your persona. So in the case of Dyson, everything that you do, you sit down and think, right, I am James Dyson. I am an engineer. I am authentic. I have a little twinkle in my eye, and I'm going to drive home in my Ferrari later on. What am I going to do? How am I going to approach this particular project that I've been tasked with? Am I writing a set of product features or benefits? Or am I approving a layout of an advert? Whatever it is, you start to think as your persona. And we start writing as personas, certainly if you're being a copywriter. I'm running short on time, so I'll have to speed up a little bit. But some of the things you can start doing, so start writing and reading aloud, for instance. Now, it isn't just UI copy. This could be a brand personality influencing your mission statement, something that a customer might never see, but write it in your brand personality, because immediately it's being conveyed. If you've got there at the center of everything else you do, you're doing well. Proof and review, again, old copywriter techniques. We won't go too much into those today because it's not too relevant. But take notes and start building a term bank. When you start thinking about personality, you start thinking about the way you talk. You start thinking about the words you use. For instance, am I standing here conversing to you eloquently using polysyllabic nomenclature? Or am I just having a rant and a rave and trying to spill a few tips, right? So it's the words you use. And if my brand is to be quite calm and relaxed and casual, then I'm going to start, I don't know, well, what is the word start I use there? What words resonated? And this will be a growing list, something will evolve. But start tracking down these words, start tracking and making note and keeping a record of all these phrases that you start using that resonate really well or really seem to sum up your brand's personality. And these, taking notes and building this term bank, this is the foundation of your copy style guide, your personality style guide, your tone of voice. These really important documents to any organization, any brand. This sort of stuff is where those things begin. Those are the seeds from which mighty brand oaks will grow. Again, dating myself. Not anybody in this room's got a hi-fi with a graphic equalizer anymore, but you can start thinking about traits and brands and personality types. And immediately you've got to start thinking about, well, okay, well, where are we going to apply all these? Because they're not always going to be applicable everywhere. If I have a twinkle in my eye, for instance, and I want to be a little bit cheeky, a little bit fun, a little bit lighthearted, that's all good and well, but I'm not going to start talking like that when I'm asking someone for someone's credit card details because they're about to drop £600 on a vacuum cleaner. Okay, I'm going to dial up the old authenticity. And make sure that people understand what they're getting into, for instance, make sure they understand what they're doing at any given time. So we dial those personality traits up and down as you go. And not just in the copy, again, it'd be through the visuals, through the iconography, through the vocal, through the logos, through the photography. You have a very different set of priorities if you're landing on somebody's homepage than you would if you were looking at their customer support site, for instance. Okay, if you're looking at customer support, you don't want a nice, big, shiny photograph atop with lots of, satisfied looking customers engaging happily with your product. You can think, oh, sons of guns, you're miserable because something's gone wrong. That's the last thing you want to see. So you want to get straight into some help and some support. Okay, so again, just an example of personality traits. You can dial them up and down as you go. And we'll cover this a little bit later on in some of the exercises we're going to do upstairs that should help this kind of come to life and help you kind of grasp this and start building some of these or planting some of these little acorns I mentioned earlier for carefree breaks. So like I said, dialing these traits up and down, and these will differ depending on the sort of user journey you're writing for. Obviously, first-time use is going to vary differently, vastly differently to your after sales. Okay, so dialing things up and down as you go. This is just a little example. So, for instance, at Dyson, if you're visiting the homepage, we want to make sure that we're authentic and make sure we've got the twinkle dialed way up high. People landing on the site for the first time, we're not going to hammer them with information about 0.5 microns because out of context, it doesn't mean anything. But we're going to be plain spoken. We're going to have the twinkle in the eye to try and grab people's attention and gain their trust, or at least keep them looking at the site for a few seconds longer. So maybe they're tempted to go and click on something. That ever elusive stickiness factor. But again, when you go through a product page, we can dial the engineering stuff right up there because we're talking about product benefits. Okay, engineering is ideally suited to extolling the benefits of a vacuum cleaner, especially when you're Dyson, because you've got something nobody else has got. You've got this fantastic technology. And then again, when you get to payment, as I mentioned, we don't need to start making funny jokes or giving people a science lesson. We don't need to sound like an engineer, for goodness sake. We often want to be plain spoken so people understand what it is they're getting into. They can understand some of their warranty, for instance, what their returns are going to be like, what the returns program's like, what they need to do, when things are going to be delivered. So just dial the authentic all the way up. And so you can start to see we've got these three traits that sum up what Dyson is from their personality perspective. And you see where it's varying throughout the customer journey to make the most of the customer's engagement, make the most of their being there and having eyes on their site. Where do you use personality? Well, everywhere, obviously. We're just talking about a website today, but brand personality, as I mentioned, it touches everything, even onto the call center scripts. That's one of the things that I work on here at Dyson. We've got people phoning in. Maybe their curry is late, or it's missing poppadoms, or they've got the wrong order altogether. It hasn't turned up, full stop. Okay, they're going to be angry people. They're hungry people, even worse. So, the way that you surface your brand can do a lot at that stage. If you are maybe neutral and standoffish and detached from somebody, those are all brand traits, then you're not going to make a very good impression, are you? If you are aggressive or hostile or condescending, again, all three personality traits, obviously not the message you want to give. But if you're patient with somebody and you are maybe authentic, to take one of those Dyson things, and you're very plain spoken, it becomes apparent that you have a genuine care in the customer's situation, then again, you're onto a winner. So you can start to see how brand personality can influence this thing. It's a really sticky situation, and you want to retain customers as a business all the time. So anything you can do to stop them running away screaming and crying blue murder, then obviously that's a good thing. More than anything else, you've got to be patient. When I was working at Dyson, I was there for 9 months before I felt I even had anywhere near a firm grip on their personality. It took about 18 months to get the grip. A full 9 months before I got to grips with the personality and how it manifested itself. So that's the one thing. I'm running through this really quickly with you now. I'm going to do some exercises upstairs in a minute. we're going to kind of cover the basic stuff, but even so, you just got to be patient. It is a kind of a trial and error. You're going to be writing things, you might be exploring things, you might be looking at ways of bringing out brand personality, and you'll do it, and you'll come back to it later in that day or tomorrow, and you'll think, what the hell was I thinking? That's just, you'll screw it up and you'll throw it away. You just got to be patient. It's the learning exercise, and it doesn't come quick. Even to me, I've been doing brand work and writing and personality work for my entire career. Whenever you go to a new business or you take on a new client or you work with a new client, it is always a little bit intimidating. And I'm sure it's the same thing with UI designers and UX designers. When you take on a new client, it's always intimidating because it is new and it takes time to get used to. And you are adopting a new persona. If you listen to actors talking, for instance, I mean, Robert De Niro is a great one for this. How many months does he spend preparing, getting into a role? He's one of these famous method actors. He'll put on weight. He'll go and get a job as a boxer or a trainer, for instance, if he's playing that kind of role in a film. He'll learn how to go and fire a gun. He'll learn to flip a pancake. He'll learn how to do stand-up comedy. He will immerse himself in the role for months and months and months before he even goes to rehearsals and starts filming his parts. It's all about getting underneath the skin of it, and that can take time. Right. I'm not going to run through these exercises here because we'll cover them upstairs. Will we be down here for a little end of, or are we just people are going to be disappearing after exercises? Okay. One more tip, and it's kind of fun. Didn't want to. Well, but we'll do it later. It's when on. Yeah, cool. Right. So upstairs, beer, pizza, exercises. Not as scary as it sounds. I promise.
Thank you so much, Mike. All right, so just one really quick thing, and I just want to clarify this. With all of this amazing learning, we're going to go upstairs and we're going to go through exercises. And what's really, really important is to remember that everything we're doing is within thinking how we can help Carefree Breaks. And at the end, all the work that we're going to put together, we're going to hand to them. Okay, so think about it, because this is what makes a big difference. So work hard, ask questions. Mike will be walking around. We have some volunteers, and also we'll make sure that one person from the Carefree Breaks team is actually joining you as well, so that you can ask questions and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's do an amazing work now. Okay, let's go all upstairs to the 8th floor, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Leave your stuff here, but it's at your own risks.
Okay, that's so cool. It's such a refreshing, invigorating experience being up there with you guys. You've just taken to this so well. Thank you so much for the attitude that you've brought with you tonight. I mean, it's been so fascinating watching you guys work and wrestle with this stuff. It's really, really cool. I found it fascinating and really, really useful too. So, please give yourselves a big hand. Now, we are rapidly approaching time when people are going to want to start disappearing, or at least, going and having more beers. So what I want to do quickly is just get one person from each group just to pop up on stage, tell us what 3 traits you picked for Carefree Breaks, what user journey you had, and one of the traits that you had dialed up nice and high for that user journey, and just give us a bit of background about why you thought you were dialing that, why you wanted to dial that trait up. So who wants to be big brave wolf and stand up first?
Recordings. Yay. Okay, so we chose imaginative first and foremost, then reliable and warm. And when we came to dialing up and down, we had a really interesting conversation about whether we should dial imaginative highest or warmth highest. Oh, sorry, we were the home page, new user. And where we came down on is there was right at the end, we had a very interesting comment thrown in. So we chose imaginative as highest because we wanted people to come onto the site and instantly feel gripped and excited about the holiday that they could have and the experience and where it could take them. But someone then actually threw in the really interesting comment right at the last moment of whether we should dial up the warmth to differentiate ourselves, to feel different from those travel pages that you land on and they show you the beach immediately. So that was something we didn't quite have time to play out, but we'd like to unpick more.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your work. Who wants to go next? Someone have your pack. Sorry. Who wants to go next? So 3 traits in your user journey.
Cool. So we were on the booking and payment page, and we chose to go for reliable, sincere, and cheerful. So the only debate we really had here was about cheerful because when you get to payment, it's not really the best thing in the world. But we thought we want people to be really excited about their trip, so we actually drew a little pie chart, and we wanted cheerful to be 20%, sincere to be 30%, and reliable to be 50%. And we were pretty much in agreement besides that. So that was it.
Who's next? Who's next? So you can tell I'm not a radio DJ. I don't find a steady patter to keep things going. I'd be off the air in a week.
Thank you. Okay. So our 3 kind of traits we looked at were sincerity, reliability, and imagination. We thought we really wanted to ramp up the sincerity because when you're a carer, you've been through a lot. It's a very difficult situation, and you want to know that you can trust the person that you're coming to, Carefree Breaks, and that you can rely on them to deliver a good service for you. But you also want them to give the imagination to break you through from your trapped environments and open up some new possibilities. So when you ramp onto that homepage, you don't want to see time wasted. So you really want to ramp up 100% that sincerity. We are here to give you a break because you've earned it. But we also want to have a good amount, maybe about 60-70% of imagination to go, look, these are opportunities out here for you. Yeah, go and have a good time. And then maybe about 40% reliability because we'll then kind of, as they delve down into the process, we'll really kind of dig into that a bit more.
Cool. Thank you. Who's next? We're whistling through. Who's next?
So we chose, much like everyone else, sincere, reliable, and charming. We had the account creation, so there was much debate on at what point these should come in. We initially started off with charming, thinking this should be a really fun thing, but we decided actually that's probably for sooner in the customer journey, where you land, you're exploring the products. That's got to be charming. But for an account creation, it's got to be sincere. Like we're taking your details, we're protecting them. Often we think because carers are nervous of technology, there's a fear of safety over information. So being very sincere and making carers feel calmer was definitely of huge importance. And with reliability, obviously, this is not something that they use a lot. So it has to be easy for them to use. And so if they have to put an extended password in and have like an email account they have to verify and validate, we decided that's a bad idea. We want to be reliable and sturdy and calm. And we decided that we wanted it to be medium sincere, high reliability, and just quite charming.
Awesome, thank you. Right, Team Elmo, come and take the stage. Now, quick caveat, I had time for Team Elmo, booking and payment. Now, obviously, this being a charity offering free holidays, not entirely relevant. So the good folks thought, right, let's make this work for us. So you picked
the forum community. So the traits we had were practical, empowering, and empathetic. We dialed up empowering simply because we thought, well, as someone had mentioned, that people coming on feeling really tired almost, and there was the danger of people being, if say empathetic was dialed up, it might encourage sort of wallowing. I don't know if that's the right word to use. So we thought, let's empower, let's get people to be positive as much as they can be in the context of their reality. And and then practical and empathetic were at the same level. Yes. Okay.
Is there anybody we've missed? Anybody we've not included? Is that everybody? Oh, one more. Squeeze gap.
We had after sales and support, so we were trying to think of words that are kind of nice ways of saying no to people. So we had sincere, excited, and reliable, but added a fourth of charming as well, bit last minute. We wanted to look at carers and the holiday accommodation because we're talking to both of those people, and we felt that reliable comes up top in both of those. The others kind of mixed around depending on the people, but we decided that we really needed to be reliable because these carers and the people giving up their accommodation need to know that we are going to pull through for them, because holiday accommodation are going to lose their money if we don't come in, and carers, they've made a lot of arrangements for this. So again, if we're not reliable, what are we?
Awesome. So it's been a fantastic evening. I found it really valuable, really enjoyable. I hope you guys have had too. Most importantly, dear God, I hope James and Charlie and Chris and Charlotte have found this useful too. If you haven't already, please hand in your paperwork and your packs of work, your documents to Sandra on the way out so we can get those to the people who need them. We'll share an email with a copy of the deck and everything that we've covered here tonight, so you've got some reference materials too. And I want to leave you just with a kind of a last tip. We've covered so much here tonight, and there's so much to learn, and it's such a deep subject. If you ever find yourself getting stuck about personas and personality traits and how that would affect the way you communicate and how that would affect the way that you want people to perceive you, there's a really quick way of just getting a drop of electricity. And this is one I found. I've got a 6-year-old daughter, so I'm well versed in this, but it's going to look at kids' books. Okay, even if you don't have a kid, go and wander around Waterstone's kids section, look at some of the picture books. Not only have they got incredible artwork, but they are full of characterization, full of personality, and because they're really short stories and they are really concise and really succinctly written, some of the authors, the best authors, they are just wizards at developing personality and explaining personality traits and showing personality traits working or at work in circumstances and a context that is actually really easy to understand. And the best ones, they never talk down to you, so they're awesome. They're really good. So if you ever find yourself needing like a jolt of inspiration, go and have a quick read of some kids' books because they are awesome. Now, when we booked this originally, it was going to be before Christmas, and I'm a huge Christmas fan, as Sandra was standing there. Yeah, you want about Christmas again. And this is an old classic, right? I mean, the night before Christmas, even if you haven't got a kid, you probably know, the night before Christmas, all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. This is the last page. And this is all about tone of voice and personality. And obviously there's a lot in the reading, but it's just a good example of how you just the personality of a character or the personality of an author can just leap off the page at you. And you just read this and you can't kind of help but come away feeling warm and inspired and just excited. And this is kind of what personality can do, and what it can do to you. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Thank you very much. Give yourselves a round of applause. I'm here all week. Please tip your waitresses.
Well deserved, Mike. Thank you so much. That was amazing. And the last thing, which is extremely symbolic and meaningful, I want to invite James back on stage and I want to hand in the work we've done for Carefree Breaks. We are super happy that we were able to be part of this in the way we were. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. So, and please do get in touch with us if you want to get in touch with James and give him a hand and the whole team. So just let me know. Really quick, 30 minutes left. Please do rate the meetup. Let me know how it went. This is how we get people coming back. So don't forget to tweet about us. And also, really exciting, we already have the next event ready for you. It's on the 7th of March in the Facebook office. So I want to see you all there. Have a lovely night. Thank you, everyone.